Here is it. The number of orders for that item have increased greatly. Several of them have come from Egypt. If you know the basic concept from this particular question, you'll be quickly able to identify the error. We cannot add would. Would is just the past tense of will, right? You cannot add it. There's a rule behind this. I don't know if you know the rule. If you don't know the rule, you may not be able to identify the error. Okay, so let me quickly put down the rule here. Very simple. When I have the expression the number, okay, is always followed by a singular verb, and a number is followed by a plural verb, right? This is the rule. Okay, you need to remember the rule. Is 13, the number of people is 13, right? When I have a number coming into the picture, right? A number of people have written in about the subject. A number, have. That's it. Are you with me? The number, I'm just giving you some random examples. The number of people lined up for the tickets was 400. A number of suggestions were made. Are you with me? A number, where. So, the number, singular verb, a number, plural verb, which means the error is in part B. I need to change have to has, like Mamta has said, right? The number of orders is fine. There's nothing wrong with the plural noun number orders, right? In fact, the subject is the number. And if you change orders to order, which is a singular subject, no? Again, I have to change, it cannot be have, no? If you're talking about one order, I cannot have, right? I have to have has. And in the context, I can't have obviously more than one part that has the error. The number of orders, the number is a subject and not the orders. Huh? Got it? So if you know the rule, that's why it's important for you to know the rule. Subject verb agreement. This is part of subject verb agreement. Now this letter, along with these invoices and the statements of monthly sales, are to be typed today. 15 seconds running. Where do you think the error is? Right? So basically, what is the subject here? This letter. And is it singular or plural? Singular subject. Right? Which means I need a singular verb. But the verb is plural. I need to change that to singular. The error is in part C. Exactly. Right? So these are again obviously pertaining to subject verb agreement. You have a lot of these other expressions that you need to keep in mind. Right? One is along with, right, or together with. I'm giving you other expressions which will confuse you, and it's important that you identify the subject clearly, right, including the. These separate the subject and the verb as well as. So when you have a subject, right, associated with these expressions, and then the verb that follow, whatever the sentence follows, you don't get confused with the noun numbers that follow these expressions, right? Clearly identify the subject before these expressions. For example, yeah, I've just put down some example sentences. Can you quickly identify the errors in that? So in the example sentence, right, the decoration is the subject, which is still a singular subject. But I need to check if my verb is corresponding to that singular subject, which is not. I need to change this to. So, of the new office block is a prepositional phrase, and then I have including the furniture and curtains. All this is additional information. The decoration is more pleasing, right? Singular subject. Likewise, the chief competitor. The chief competitor is my singular subject. Everything else is just additional information, which is as well as ourselves is obliged to raise prices this summer, not are. Are you following? So subject verb agreement, these are some things that very basic, you need to keep this in mind. Let's look at this one. Every man, woman and child are now aware of the terrible consequences of the habit of smoking. Slightly tricky one. There's a rule behind this as well. If you know the rule, you will know whether there is an error or no error at all. Every each follows singular verb. Okay. And also remember, But the problem is I have more than one subject, no? Man, woman and child. So don't you think it should be are? So when you're confused, even when the sentence starts with every or each, there is more than a couple of subjects, right? This is nothing but it's a compound subject. What's a compound subject? Very simple. A compound subject is where the sentence has two or more subjects. And that's when we see, right, man, woman, child. So when a sentence has two or more subjects, it's called a compound subject. Yes, very true. Right, so the rule is this. Pay attention. If a sentence begins with each or every and contains a compound subject, which we just saw, which is the example in our context, right? The verb is singular, right? Which means, obviously, I need to change are to is. The error is in part B, no doubt. So, for example, if I say every writer and editor, so which means I have more than one subject, writer is one subject, editor is one subject. So which means this is a compound subject because it has more than one subject and it starts with every. So if a sentence begins with each or every and contains a compound subject, every writer and editor attend or attends the annual conference. Answer this. Each boy and girl looks or look nice in their costumes. Answer. So if I have to write a plain sentence, right, I will say without every, right? I put another context without every here. So the writer and editor, I have two subjects joined by and as per subject verb agreement. It has to be two subjects means plural subject, which means it has to be the writer and editor attend the annual conference. But the same thing I'm saying, if I have every in front of the compound subject, I need to use a singular verb, attends. Each boy and girl, so I can say the boys and girls look nice in their costumes, or the boy and girl look nice in their costumes, plural subject. But because I have each in front of that, it becomes a compound subject and I need a singular verb. Each boy and girl looks nice in their costumes. Yeah, I'm sure you're clear with this concept. So keep this in mind. This is another rule pertaining to subject verb agreement with respect to compound subjects, the exceptions being each and every coming before it. Let's look at this one. Each of the hotel's 150 rooms were equipped with central air conditioning and color television. I don't think this is an issue here, as in terms of, we just saw an earlier one, so this should be easy for you. Yes, correct. What do you change? That's it, right? Each, we're talking about each one of those, so not where but was. The error is in part B. One last one pertaining to subject verb agreement. See if you're able to identify this error. Now that the stress of examination and interviews are over, we can all relax for a while. Are you guys able to identify the error? Now that the stress of examination and interviews are over, we can all relax for a while. So what is the subject here? The subject is the stress, which is still a singular subject. This is another confusing one for a lot of us when you have the prepositional phrase coming in between the subject and the verb, right? The stress is the subject, which is a singular subject, of examination interviews with additional information. So which means I don't need are, I need is. The error is in part C. Yeah. So with respect to subject verb agreement, what I need to keep in mind is all these rules, right? I need to identify the subject, I need to be aware of the exceptions, and that's what we saw, right? So when I have prepositional phrases coming in between the subject and the verb, I should be able to identify whether the subject is singular or plural. One, I need to identify the prepositional phrase first, which is separating the subject and the verb, or other concepts that we just saw, right? Like exceptions when it comes to compound subjects with each and every, or certain phrases that come in between the subject, like together with, including the, as well as, along with. Yeah, a lot of things that we saw in terms of subject verb agreement. The number, a number, that's another rule that we looked at.